you. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and officially welcome to the Maslow. We've got a dual act, so me and Johan. I'm going to take about 20 minutes to share with you some of the group stuff around adding the human touch, and I'm linking that to our customer value proposition. And then I'm going to hand over to Johan, who's actually got the task to make all of our theory come alive. So he does have a formidable task, and he's got some fantastic stuff that he wants to share. The people that saw my presentation last year, I described our journey. Our journey has been going now for almost 7 years in Sun International. And to Renee's point, to change a culture and to infuse some of the humanness is a tough ask when you've got 21,000 people and 27 properties. And it's not easy, but and sometimes you actually don't know, are you on the right track? Sometimes you can plan as much as you want and you can put in strategy, but at some point there is a tipping point, and that's, I think, the good news of my presentation. Last year, I described to you, I said in 2006, we started with a massive staff engagement. We had a new leadership on board. We had a new brand that we launched, and we had to say to our people, come on, we had to light the fire. And we did that through a huge industrial theater initiative called the One Sun. That worked. Suddenly we saw there are things that we can, in our industry, and remember we're in hospitality and entertainment, that we were switching on. Things like, it's okay to have fun. Because if we ask you to smile and you come to work and you're actually not having a good time, how can we ask you to smile to the customer? There's also things that we discovered is our people like, and especially in Africa, we like music. We like dancing. We like things like that, and sometimes we've got to allow our people to be human. And I look at all of us, and even at myself as a customer, being in customer service, I sometimes find myself, I'm almost inhuman when I complain about things because, quite frankly, things go wrong. Anyway, so after that, we did a whole project called the Touchpoint Project, where we went to our touchpoints. We looked at, what is the experience that we want to have there, and then we discovered a couple of things that we had to go back to the drawing board and we had to fix. Our third initiative that I'm really going to focus on today is how do we actually add some of the human in what did we do? And I'm going to share with you that we did something like faulty towers. I don't know who's familiar with a series about faulty towers. Because we saw that video works. Remember, we also employ the Y generation. So why is YouTube such a big phenomena? So the visual aspects, and we took a lot of our customer service training into video. So that people can actually see this is the behavior that we want, this is what we don't want. Anyway, so we created an 8-episode customer experience in a place called Not As Fabulous as the Maslow, but we created it as a place called the Clearview Hotel and Casino. So have a look a little bit about how human we can get.
Beautiful girl like you should not stand in front of that guy. Let me tell you what's in there this Friday night. You, me, Saba, a movie, and an after that, who knows what's going to happen. Okay? My mommy needs to know my 12 ladies. Okay, I'm sorry. Sure? You talk it. Hello, Sphinx. Check here. It's fraught to be alone on a Friday. So I'm asking you. No, I'm telling you, this Friday, you, me, Bunny Charles in the bonnet of my car, maybe watching a DVD, because I've got a DVD player in my car. Maybe a nighttime walk, maybe even a moon. want to bring stuff like that? No. What do you guys do in your own time? It's none of my business. But you are now on here in the hotel side. Two groups of guests have arrived, and they need your attention like, oh man, the vegetable I have my head. You know that big words.
Okay, so what we've discovered is that our people are human too. And they absolutely love this because we've taken it from a pure communication exercise into a learning and development and coaching exercise into entertainment. But by the way, there's stuff that they will learn. So, the reality is a real challenge to get, and we firmly believe engaged employees equals engaged customers. And I believe it starts with why. If we can get our people to say why and they can get it, we don't want to have a curve like this because there are so many initiatives in our business that happen that we can either go the route of where people are just saying, I just can't deal with this anymore. Or where they actually say, I'm in denial, it doesn't affect me, or, I'm just going to run away. And that's not the curve that we want. So all of these initiatives, HR's got stuff to do, and performance management, and our operations has got stuff to do. It really is a lot of an ask that we don't want, but this is kind of the ideal curve that we want to have as we take our employees through that. Now, just a bit of, and we've done a lot of work on this, is what are some of the triggers? What are some of the triggers that when you want to get individuals to engage, is that why? But it starts off by speaking to their heads. Talk to me. Tell me. Coach me. Teach me. All of those things are involved in there until it gets to the heart. Until you can actually get to the heart and you can say to them, it's mine. And they start taking ownership of all of these elements. So, in a kind of a cultural change intervention, those are some of the tools that you can work with, that you can get them actually getting to do the action. So yes, we applied all of these concepts. We started off with communication, and we then looked at training and development and coaching. But the stuff that you cannot deny doesn't help that you switch me on and get me all excited and passionate, but I don't have the tools. And some of the things that we've got to make sure is how do we recruit? How do we then look at giving them the right process and the right technology? My heart bleeds. I've consulted many years in contact centers, and when a customer phones and says, oh, but I'm phoning about my check account, I'm sorry, I'm the credit department, I can't see that. We get them to understand why they've got to do it, but they don't always have the insight and the tools that they can answer that. So we've taken all of these steps, and some of this is continuous, that you can never stop. You can never stop communicating. You can never stop looking at the leadership stuff. And all of those elements need to be planned. And like I say, we did our little plan in 2006, and sometimes you think, oh, that's a fantastic plan, but it doesn't always evolve into the way that you believe. But somewhere, there's going to be a tipping point for us. And I think one of our lessons that we've learned is that, we've got to use some of the stuff that work, like the visual, and becoming human and actually enjoying being in this environment.
It's wonderful to see us all serve our purpose today. Well, you see, Sharon, we all have different jobs. Isn't that right, Jonathan?
Right, and I said, we all have the same reason to be here.
To serve our guests.
Not just to serve, to thrill them, to delight them.
Yes, and I think Dinesh learned a very important lesson here today, didn't he, Dinesh?
Yes. We all performance, and we have our personal problems, we have our issues, etc. But the show must go on. So, guys.
Okay, so it starts really with defining what do we want to deliver in the lives of our customers. So what we've done with the soap opera is really to weave in 3 stories, and it was incredibly hard work to make sure the messages are right. Because there's a storyline about faulty towers, and it goes seriously wrong. Seriously. And how do we pull it back? Because that's where the comedy comes in. But you've also got to be careful because we talk about behaviors. You can't write humor in the general manager slaps, the porter because he didn't do something. The problem is it's behavior, so you've got to tone down. Then there's the interpersonal stuff. All of us work in environments and we've got colleagues. What happens behind the scenes? What is allowed? What is not allowed? And then, of course, there's the message and the learning that we want to build in here. So every episode starts off with some of the interpersonal. Then there's a bit of a comedy. It goes so bad. Then we fix it. And then at the end, there's a lesson that we learn. But it starts off, and I think you can look at this building. Sun International is very renowned for the way that we build things. We've got the Palace, we've got the Table Bay, we've got the Grand West. It's grand places. However, at the end of the day, a building means nothing. You are going to remember some of the interactions that you have with the people that are here. This just sets the stage, and that's why we talk about performance. So I'm going to briefly talk to you about what did we do with the Maslow, and then I'm going to hand over to Johan. And I think we've been offering you guys to take a tour through the property as well to see how we're trying to make this come alive. How do we take the value proposition and look at the customer needs and wants? Now, if you look at the definition of a CVP or customer value proposition, it's the sum of the benefits that you're going to get when you buy something from us. It should be a powerful statement that speaks to the customer emotionally, but very importantly, I'm very passionate, and my marketing background has for many years told me, and I've been in advertising, is that we can do marketing and branding until the cows come home. However, if you walk into a place like this and that brand isn't substantiated or delivered, you've wasted a lot of marketing money. And in the future, where customers are actually going to do word of mouth a lot more, where they're going to do social media a lot more, your advertising budget, you've got to relook that and say, where are we spending it? So in our business, what we have defined is to say that it helps us to build and understand our operational capability. So when this hotel was designed, we sat down, we looked at our customer value proposition, and you've got a challenge, I think you can admit. Down this strip, this passage, this road of Rivonia, how many hotels do we have? All offer the same things, all offer the same, and they say, and how do you differentiate in a market that's already there? And then how do we brief the operations to take that forward and to say, go and deliver that? So operationally, it needs to allow you to differentiate. Secondly, your marketing department, it needs to allow you to find hooks. Your CVP isn't necessarily your promise, but it needs you to find hooks that you can say, well, these are some of the things that we will be known for at the Maslow. And then thirdly, it's how we're going to measure. Yes, we do voice of the guest. However, some of the stuff is generic, but we want to know that the experience that you get at the Maslow is the Maslow experience, not the Palace experience. So that's where we start. Why do we need it? Because externally, you've got to manage customer expectations. So if we say to the customer, you're going to get all of these things at the Maslow, they're going to arrive here with an expectation that could be above what we can deliver. So we've got to make sure that when we tell and communicate in our marketing, that people actually understand when we are going to arrive, we're going to get this and this and this. And it's very important that we do that right. Secondly, our people, we need to align them to say, do you understand what is your responsibility? And that the customer is expecting these things so that when they arrive at this property, that they actually can do that. So when we looked at this business, we said, so how are we going to look and say, what does a customer need? What does a customer need? And that was our starting point. The make or break factor is to get the balance right between marketing and operations. And the better any company in future can address the needs of the customer, the more successful you will be. And that's some of the things that we're really trying, and we're going back to some of our other businesses that's been in business for 30 years, and we're actually relooking some of their value propositions and saying, you know what, you've actually potentially incorrectly positioned yourself. So who is your target audience? What motivates them to come to you? What do they need? So we also try to make it simplified to say, per property, have one statement. Then you've got to interpret that per department, because remember, we've got all, especially in the hospitality and casino industry, many departments. But at the end of the day, it's the touch point where it comes alive. So we had to make sure that it cascades. Briefly, our approach, we start off with who's the customer. So we looked at this. We reinvented the way we segment our customers. We look at how they purchase, how they buy entertainment, how they buy hospitality. we resegmented instead of just looking at our normal transactional, who's our most valued customers. So we really looked at that, yes, and we looked at benchmarking like the motor industry. The motor industry has fantastic examples where they use profiling that they can get in their heads. Well, I'm going to sell an A1 Audi to this customer, a Q5 to this customer, and a Q7 to that customer. So we look at who's our customers. Then we clearly understand what motivates them. Why would they make a decision to come to us? One customer is here for a conference. When you are here for a conference, you need something different than a customer that's here that just wants to stay over for the night. And then we focus on the wants. And that's where the Maslow is coming in. Because the Maslow is basically saying to you, you don't have to worry about your needs. We've taken care of that. You can focus on conducting business when you are on this property. So we have to deliver that in terms of service. We've got to make things a little bit more tangible. We've got to explain to our frontline, these things are non-negotiable. These are the needs of the customers, but you can't aim there because they won't be satisfied. You've got to aim at their aspirations, their wants. Then we look at some of the things that we believe in our business drives an experience. So we've done a lot of homework. We've looked at what are the drivers of an experience. And then you start unpacking and saying, I need to have the following words in my CVP. So when I craft this, that it speaks to the customer, and remember that emotional bit. Now, what makes a good CVP? So I've given you some pointers should you be interested, because there's lots of views about what is a good CVP, and it's subjective. It's like, I like blue, you might like green. So I like the statement, you might not like it. But you've got to put in a couple of things that says, you know what? I've put it a bit through some rigor, that I understand that it does address some of the things we wanted to address. And then from there, you've got to look at how do we do business. So your operating model. And this is something that we believe. So if you've put your customer statement in the middle, you've got to look at your strategy and how you measure it. But you are dealt with things like money and culture. Those are your two parameters. And then the things that you can throw at any as a manager, the things that you can work with is things around people. Process, product, touch points, your property, your technology, and then your information. Those are things that you can put to the problem. So, for example, we can say we have a challenge when customers check in. And you can say, well, do we need more people? Or do we need technology? What do we need to enable this touch point to deliver that experience? Because at the end of the day, it needs to link to your brand and to the experience that you want to deliver. From there, all of these things are connected. And that's one of the things in change management that you must never forget. If you tweak the people, something else is going to go a little bit off. If you tweak technology, so if you add a CRM technology to a company, you've got to look at things like the process, you've got to look at the information, you've got to look at the people. So it's in a balance. That's why we talk about the operating model. From there, the best that I can say is then take it to the next level, which is to say, look at your experience journey maps. And it can be as simple as this because it shows you some of the touch points. Then you can look at, say, well, what ideally happens at a touch point? What do I need to happen at the touch point? And from there, you can find your action items. So that's what we've done to really say, okay, what is the experience? And of course we dream, and of course we don't always get it right. Because that's the challenge with service, because there's so many human factors that are involved. For example, the emotion. Some days people, come and something just went wrong and they're emotional about it. So you've got to look at that, and then we implement it. So then we look at a roadmap to say, what is the priorities? Because we can't do everything, and we've actually created something like this for every property. So with the Maslow, we looked at our segments. We've looked at what are the needs of a business person. Then we very cognizantly said, okay, a business person is still a human being. So at the end of the day, once you've had your conference here, when you finish at 5 o'clock, you're going to sit in traffic. What can we do to alleviate that? How can we make sure that when you go to your room, you have kids potentially? How do you interact? Do you need the Skype? How's it going to work? What drives your emotion? Do you have a need to be entertained? Do we need to give you entertainment? Do we need to give you social environment? Why do we offer the bar? A lot of people, I travel quite a lot. you don't want to sit in your hotel room, but I also don't want to network. I just want to go and have a place where I can sit and feel part of the world, but do my work potentially. And some of those things we've purposefully built in to make sure that's that experience and addressing those needs. So we've used our customer value proposition to guide this experience that we want to deliver and to put the humanness into our experiences. Last year, I shared with you our touch points and how we look at our touch points. So it really looks first at the property in terms of what do we want to deliver and what is the value that we think we can add to the customer's lives. Then at every touch point, you've got to look at the standard. You've got to understand the guest. You've got to improve their confidence because often it comes with, we've got, and I'll tell a story, I think our Sun International people picked it up. I think, Johan, you've recruited incredibly correctly. But you must realize we are in Africa, and often in our properties, like in Zambia, we recruit out of a rural area. Now we open a 5-star hotel. We've got people that don't even have running water at their home, but we expect them to deliver silver service to the Queen when she visits there. See the challenge? Even in here, now we have people, we've got customers that are astute business customers. They come and they understand wine. And we order a drink of wine, and we have people here that have got the passion and the right, and we ask them, so, and this happened last night, so what wine are we drinking tonight? And the knowledge might not be there, but I think it's beautiful because they said, I didn't know. They didn't say I didn't know. They said, the one with grapes in it. And that's, but that's beautiful because, and that's why I'm saying, please, as consumers, also remember, don't be so critical. Be human to this person and understand their environment as well. So anyway, we have to look at our processes as well, and we've got to look at our information and technology, and then we've got something called CLEAR. I shared with you last year, it's a behavior and an interaction process that we talk about. Connect with warmth. There's behaviors to it. So step 1. Step 2, listen with focus. Step 3, engage with intent. Step 3, act with ownership. And step 5, reconnect with sincerity. Now, if we can get that behaviors more accurately, that is where the secret of consistency lies. So if we can get these circles to overlap a lot more closer and tighter every single day. So I'm going to just wrap up and show you the last little video clip, and then I'm going to hand over to Johan. I think, we'll handle questions at, right at the end because we're really running short of time. So just to give you just the last bit of heads up, our journey was planned from 2006-07. We started off with a massive staff engagement. We launched a new staff magazine. Then we realized music triggers it. So we had Sun International's Got Talent. We had a whole T-shirt competition. We launched a recognition. We talk about stories. We want stories out of our properties where we did good. And we want to thank our people, so we launched a whole recognition initiative in 2008. Then we had a huge touchpoint initiative, which was a coaching exercise that I shared last year with you. And this year we had the Serving with Clear, which is our SOAPy, that consists of about 6 different elements. A Mobi site. Another thing that worked well is our staff want to engage. On shift, they can't have their mobile devices. But the Mobi site has showed that it's an incredible tool for us to speak to our staff, and we played games on it, we had competitions on it. So just to end off the presentation, this is the last bit of some of the movie.
Okay, guys, it's been an interesting.
We have guests at Sun International. We truly light up their lives.
Yeah, which is why I'm risking coming back again and again.
Because only we connect with warmth. And we listen with focus. And only we engage with intent.
And only we act with ownership.
And reconnect with sincerity.
And when you're part of the Sun International family, you not only lighten up your guests' lives, but also your own.
Yes, and Clearview Hotel and Casino belongs to all of us. And only we can make it excellent.
Because service is not just what we do, but it's who we are.
And there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
We are here to stay.
thank you very much for that. And then should you be interested, I have made the soap opera. There's 8 episodes of that. You're welcome to have an example of it. Please, if you think it's corny, you're not the audience, all right?
Good afternoon. I'm deeply humbled by the audience this afternoon. I'm hoping to share a little bit of how the last 2 months of opening our hotel's gone. I want to show you what we've gone to market with before we actually recruited our staff, and how we intend to deliver on this promise that we've made to our corporate clients out there as to this new corporate Maslow hotel, and also a little bit about the methodology around why we chose the name Maslow and how we will match the customer value proposition with our employee value proposition. And I think that's the only way to elaborate on what Ica said earlier. I think the only way you can deliver on a customer value proposition is if your employee value proposition is matched. And if you give it the exact same focus that you would give to your customers. That's the only way I think that culture of delivering on the CVP will actually materialize. So I'll show you a video of what we've gone to market with, and then you can see what challenge I have. So that would be what a lot of our clients have seen. And now, obviously, we need to deliver on this promise. So what you could see is a very high-tech hotel, very modern spaces. And obviously, when you walk through those doors, you would expect service to follow through on what this beautiful lobby and garden and everything else represents. So the only way we could do that was to go and look at how we were going to get our staff to believe in delivering this. And I'm going to share some of the very practical things that we do on a daily basis, considering we're 2 months old. And hopefully you are seeing some of these habits that we instill in our staff already. It will be an ongoing process. We have 10 habits in this hotel. It changes every day. The habit gets distributed on email to all email users. We put up the habit of the day in the canteen. And that day, the head of department team has responsibility to go and elaborate on that habit. So as you know, that Abraham Maslow, he was a very famous psychologist. He designed the hierarchy of needs. We chose to name them Maslow because actually that's what we sell. We sell the very basic human needs. That's our product. And ultimately, we want our customers to be the best they can be when they leave this hotel. So to match our employee value proposition, we would have to have the vision that our staff can be the best they can be. So we have to consider their basic needs, uniform, training, equipment to do their job. We have to give them recognition. We have to pay people on time. We have to make them feel worthy. We need to appeal to their self-esteem. And ultimately, then they can be the best staff members they can be. So that's the dream, to match the CVP and the EVP as one. And so the Maslow hierarchy of needs gave us this platform to actually facilitate this. I don't know if you've seen in the lobby, but we've got a rabbit. His name's Abe, a little silver rabbit. And we've made him our mascot. Our canteen is called the Hutch. That's where Abe lives, and that's where he habits gets exposed every day. So Abe has got 10 habits that he communicates on a daily basis. Obviously, Abraham Maslow. The first one is, I create a great first impression. And this includes a warm and genuine welcome. I greet and acknowledge guests. I keep my work area clean. And then I challenge the HOD team to go back in the operation and go in and explain, what does that mean in housekeeping? What does that mean in food and beverage? What does that mean in finance? The second one is, I'm always on stage, because we are. And basically, I look my best. I wear the correct uniform. I'm professional. I use appropriate language. I look after the little things that matter. So I anticipate guest needs. I get it right the first time, and I go the extra mile. And there's some beautiful examples of that already in this business, where people actually go and write on the various social media platforms, where people are doing this. So I'm glad to say that some of these habits are starting to resonate. I take ownership. I think this is incredibly important. So I'm committed to do a great job, but I also see things through, and I accept responsibility when things go wrong. I'm an individual, and I treat everyone as individuals. So it speaks for itself, really, not only from a team perspective, but also with our clients. I know my stuff. I think this is a lot to do with the actual standard operating procedures and how we conduct business, and also to have confidence in that product. So your example about the wine, I think we've got work to do on this habit with that particular individual. I'm part of a successful team, and I think I breathe this into the operation all the time. It really does help on a day where we're at capacity, and the habit of that day is, I'm part of a successful team. You go back into the operation, explain, guys, today it is about integration. It's cause and effect. If one department doesn't do this, the other department can't deliver on that. And really go and elaborate on this particular habit. I'm entrusted to make things right. I think autonomy is incredibly important. And even if they don't know the know-how, if they feel that they can make a difference and they can make a decision on behalf of the business to make things right for a client, I think that's incredibly empowering. And I think customers appreciate that the individual is at least making the effort to try and resolve it, even if they don't know yet how to do that. And we also use clear in this to make sure things are right, and that's where we connect with ICA. So this is the strategic intent, but certainly to come and exercise on a daily basis, this is how we incorporate the clear vision. And then I take pride in what I do. And the last habit is, I offer a sincere and genuine farewell. And that's basically ongoing, these habits on a daily basis. And then the previous speaker, there was a question about culture, and how do you instill that culture? How do you change that culture? And I contract them. This is literally an employment contract of engagement. Every member of staff has signed this contract. At the bottom of the contract is my signature and the members of staff signature. I have one-to-one discussions with these guys. And it's not just a nice to do, it's actually part of your job. And it's actually part of what makes you successful in your role, is to follow these elements of our contracts of engagement. And being a new hotel, some of it, and it will change as we evolve, but a lot of this is about getting the business to become sustainable. So you'll see one of the things is there, I pick up and polish. Because as we still snag, I still have builders in the business, as we go through the motion of getting it settled down and the dust settles literally, we still have to do things to make sure it happens afterwards. So it's actually part of our job. In the beginning, when we opened the hotel, we were all given microfiber cloths in different colors, and we had a song and dance about it with the cloths, and we went out into the operation, and literally every member of staff cleaned somewhere, as a team, all of us together. And we still have those cloths, and it's part of our uniform. So until the business and the dust is settled, this is what we'll have to do. This is what it will take. But it's not a nice to do, it's a must do. You have to smile if you're part of the business. You have to greet everyone you meet first, including colleagues. So I greet people every 5 minutes of the day because as they come on duty, I go around and greet. That's part of what we have to do. I use names, I pick up and polish, I hold the door. It's very simple things, but often in a busy operation like this, the doors, when you don't hold the door, this might be someone behind you with a tray coming. So it's quite a practical rule of engagement, but it helps not to have this person stuck in the corridor. So it's very simple things that becomes quite tangible in the operation, and this will evolve and it will grow as the business grows. So we've signed this contract. And they also hold me accountable. I've had a waitress coming into my office 2 weeks ago. She said, may I speak to you? I said, of course. And she said, well, we've got this contract. And one of the things there is the answer is always yes. But I had to say no because we don't have Diet Coke in the bar. I was like, well, that's a very good point. And I had the tool then to go to the F&B guys and say, guys, we had to say no to a customer. And our contracts of engagements clearly state that the answer is yes. So why is the bar not stocked? So it's also a tool to hold each other accountable for what could possibly go wrong and how to fix it. And it will evolve as we grow. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm hoping that you had a fantastic 2 days with us. Thank you for being patient. I know that some of you experienced some defects. I'm not naive to think that it's going to be defect-free after 2 months. Within the next 6 months, if we have that same problems, I have a problem. But in the meantime, thank you for your patience, and you're very welcome at the Maslow. Thank you.